of this playlist. Yeah, so we'll be going through React and we'll be working on a few projects, building them with React, the various tools in React, various libraries, and we'll put them together to come up with a nice project. But before that, we need to know what React is. So as you can see on your screens, um, React is a library for web and native user interfaces. So you have that for mobile as well. That uses React Native, but we are focusing on the web, so we'll be dealing mainly with React at the core. Yeah, so you can come to their website and then read the documentations for a lot more of things. However, today we'll just look at setting up a React project, and then the next one we'll take a look at our project and start off there. So creating a React project, you can either use what you call the CRA, which is quite outdated, even though it's getting newer updates now to make it better, but the most preferred is using Vite to do it. So we have Vite. So let's just wait up. So yeah, Vite is it comes with an inbuilt bundler, or it's a tool that we use to create React projects. You can use it for Vue projects, other projects as well, but we'll be using it for React. And to do that, let me just quickly go into my terminal. I need to create a folder called let me just say React new and cd into that. So the next thing I'm going to do is run the command to create a React app. So with the CRA, which is a create React app, we have so we have create React app. However, we wouldn't be using this command, so we use the create Vite at latest, where we that where we are just going to create a new project in this particular folder. However, you can start, there are various templates that comes with Vite, but you can decide to go through all the available ones, and we'll try that. So let me just press enter here, and once it goes through, it should give me some options. So I've been asked to select a framework. I want to go with React. You can go with TypeScript or JavaScript. I'm going with JavaScript. And the next thing I want to do is run an npm install. And mind you, before you begin this course, you should have pre-knowledge of JavaScript, some JavaScript knowledge. You should have that, and you should have Node and npm installed on your machine. It's there for both. It's there for all operating systems, Linux, Mac, and then Windows. So I'm just going to run npm install, and what this is going to do is before that, let's just see the contents in here where we have this view files. It's going to go into this package.json file and install the various packages that we need. So all I'm going to do is just run npm install, or npmi short, and we wait for it to get done. This should be done in a few seconds. Yeah. So as we wait for that, Vite scaffolds the project for us. You don't have to create all the React files by yourself, the config files by yourself. It helps us to do that from scratch. Yeah, I would say that. And as it's installing, let's set up our environment as well. My preferred choice of editor is Visual Studio Code, and We'll be using that too throughout this course here. So this is Visual Studio Code. I'm using a couple of plugins to help me with React. As I said, you don't have to reinvent the wheel doing everything by yourself. There are lots of extensions and then community packages that you can install to make your life easier. So what you want to do is go into the extensions tab here. So extensions, yours should come up here since you don't have anything installed yet. Go to the extensions tab and you want to search for ES6. um, Give me a minute. Let's have that installed already, so let me just yes, this particular extension, that's ES7 plus React Redux and React Native Snippets. So you install this and it helps you come up with simple snippets for your application, but you don't have to type in every single thing, right? Even creating components and stuff. Yeah. And the next thing that we are going to look at is Prettier. So Prettier helps in arranging your code. Um, it makes it nicer. It makes your code a bit nicer to look at. And then we have ESLint as well. ESLint. So ESLint also needs a bit of configuration that you can look into if you want to customize it to your project. However, this is going to help you. Um, it's going to go through your code. It's going to show you where there are errors, and then it allows you to create guides for yourself. So it's sort of like a syntax checker. So it checks your syntax and then makes sure that you are going according to what you set or the standard. This is called LinkedIn, so you can check what LinkedIn is. So LinkedIn. So essentially, it's the process of using static code analysis tool to identify stylistic errors in your code. Basically, checks your syntax and then makes sure that you are going according to the general syntax um, that you are supposed to go according to. Yeah. So I believe our project is done creating. So we have added a lot of packages. So check this out. At first, when we run it, we didn't have this node modules folder. However, now we have that, and then it contains a lot of packages or particular modules for building our project. So the next thing we are going to do is npm run dev. Or before that, let's go to the package.json file. You can see there's two JSON files here. That's the package lock and then the package itself. So we are going to take a look at the package, and then we see that the name of the project is React New, some other settings here. Then the scripts are what you are interested in. We have the dev, so this is going to run the vit command. The build is going to run the vit build. The lint is going to try linter. It's going try and then go to do a static analysis of our code, and then the preview also runs the vit preview command. So then the way we run all these commands are just npm run, and then you append your command, your argument to it. Then we have some dependencies here. We have the React, and then we have React DOM, which we'll be taking a look at later. Then we have some dev dependencies, which are going to run on your development server, not your production server. So I believe we can take a look at the file structure before we continue. So I'm just going to open up my VS Code here. Yeah. And then we have this. So we have node modules where that contains the essential basic packages that we need. And the next thing we can see here is the public folder. This is going to contain all your public assets, your static assets. It's going to contain that. Then you have the source folder, the SRC folder. This also contains assets for your uh, application development. We have the app.css. This is where you write uh, each mode. We can write CSS for each particular component. And one thing you should notice that React is component driven, meaning it's likes it when you break things down into their individual components, where each component is a thing on its own. It's like it's a whole set, it's a whole thing on its own. You can just call it, import it into another component to use it. It's units. They are basically units that you are bringing together. Yeah. And then we have the index, the CSS, also another CSS file. But these things here affect every other thing on the in your application. You have the app.jsx. So you can see in when building React projects, you find a lot of JSX files, which is the sorry for that, which is a basic extension, the basic file extension for building React. This is um, similar to HTML in a way, but then it allows you to write JavaScript code directly in your HTML file. So it takes the HTML format. So if knowing a bit of HTML before doing this course is also a plus. However, if you don't know it, you will learn it along the way. Yeah. And talked about this, we have the main.css, the main.jsx as well. So this here, you most of the time you wouldn't touch it unless you are passing in maybe context providers. This is where you would come to do that. However, this is linked to your index.html. React works on a virtual DOM system where you don't have, for those who come from JavaScript, we have what we call the DOM, and React emulates its DOM. It doesn't interact directly with uh, the the browser's DOM. However, it gives you a DOM to manipulate, and whatever manipulation is done in the virtual DOM is injected into this particular HTML file. And the next thing we are going to look at is the git ignore file. So this is for GitHub purposes or for Git purposes, and whatever file that you place in here or whatever file name that you put in here, it's not going to be affected by your Git pushes or your Git commits. It's not going to be tracked, it's not going to be staged. You would understand those keywords later in the course when we start using Git, which is our version, which will be our primary version control. And this contains a list and then history of your packages and then their dependencies. We've gone through this. Then for every project, you would want to add a README file. That's kind of like a description of your project, short documentation, and this is where you do that. Then since we used Vite, there are some additional configurations you can do by yourself, so you can add them over here. So basically that's it for the first session. We've created a React app. And then the next thing, I think we haven't run this app yet, so let's just dive in npm run dev and see what it gives us. So when we click on this link, we should be able to access it in the project in the browser, and there we go. You click on this button to change what you call states, and it adds Yeah. So there we go. Catch you in the next one.